All right, so are you ready to dive into a pretty incredible life story?
Always up for a good story, especially one like this.
Yeah, this one is something else. We're talking about Madelena.
Ah, Madelena.
Yep, and we've got this biographical text all in Portuguese, so we're really getting the full picture. Her journey starts in a small town in Brazil.
No,
And,
let's just say it takes some unexpected turns.
oh, definitely not your typical rags to riches story. Although, well, I guess there are some elements of that in there.
There are, but it goes so much deeper than that.
Oh, yeah.
You see, what makes this deep dive so fascinating is how Madalena's early hardships, they really hit on some universal themes. We're talking poverty, loss, that incredible resilience.
Right, right. And, oh, that's right. The text mentioned something about her relationship with food.
Exactly. Food becomes this really interesting thread throughout her whole story.
I'm super curious to see how that unfolds. But I guess we should start at the beginning, right?
Of course, let's go back to her early life in Brazil.
Okay, so Brazil.
So she was born in Botucatu. It's a small town. Life on their farm was already pretty tough.
I can imagine.
But then, real tragedy struck early. When Madelena was just 10 years old, both her parents died. She was orphaned.
Oh, wow.
And it gets even worse. She was separated from her siblings,
Oh, no.
then taken in by some relatives.
So already we're seeing these layers of loss piling up, even at such a young age.
It's heartbreaking, and sadly, it doesn't stop there. She ended up being forced into domestic work, long hours, barely any food. She had to sleep in this tiny, cramped space. No possessions of her own, just a bleak existence, really.
The text mentioned something about her having to eat leftovers from dog bowls.
It's a horrifying detail, isn't it? To be treated with that level of just disregard, it's devastating.
It really makes you think about the psychological effects of that kind of deprivation. Even if someone manages to escape poverty later on, those early experiences, I mean, they must leave some pretty deep scars.
Absolutely. It raises so many questions about the long-term impact.
It makes me think about survival mechanisms. Like, what kinds of behaviors might someone develop in that kind of environment, to cope?
Right.
And then how might those behaviors persist even when they're in a better situation?
You're hitting on a crucial point there. It's like those anxieties, that deep need for control, even when there's no logical reason for it.
Like hoarding food?
Exactly. Hoarding food or money, even when they have plenty. It could be a way of guarding against ever feeling that helpless again.
That's a powerful insight.
It really highlights how poverty's impact goes way beyond just the physical hardship.
It affects someone's mental and emotional state, maybe even for their whole life.
Precisely. But hold on, because amidst all this darkness, a glimmer of hope appears for Madelena.
Okay, it's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
I was wondering when that was coming.
So Senora Simone enters the picture. She was part of an American ambassador's family living in Brazil at the time.
I see.
And she offers Madelena a job in the U.S.
Okay, so this is a major turning point.
It is. This isn't just about better pay or housing, although those are huge factors, of course. It's the chance for Madelena to completely change her life's trajectory.
A total reset.
No.
Wow. It makes you think about those pivotal moments in your own life, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Those forks in the road where one decision, one little choice
Right.
leads you down a completely different path.
It really makes you wonder, what if Madelena had never met Senora Simone?
Right.
Where would her life have gone?
It's a powerful reminder of how interconnected our lives really are, and how one person's kindness, one single act of generosity can have this ripple effect, extending far beyond what we can imagine.
You said it. And that brings us to Madalena's new life in the U.S. A life full of triumph, but also, well, struggle.
A mix of both.
Yeah.
So she finally achieves that financial stability, right?
Yes.
And she grows as a person, forms a deep bond with Senora Simone's family, even helps her sister Antonia immigrate to the U.S.
She does, giving Antonia access to those same opportunities.
But there's a twist, isn't there?
There is. You see, Antonia had to leave her daughter behind in Brazil, Judith.
Oh, wow. So even in escaping hardship, there's still these heartbreaking sacrifices. It wasn't a clean break. It was more like a trade-off.
A difficult trade-off. And it really makes us think about the complexities of escaping difficult circumstances. Is there ever a perfect solution when it comes to breaking free from poverty or hardship?
I don't know. What resonates with me here is that ripple effect of choices. Madelena makes a choice that benefits her and her sister, but it also ends up having these unintended consequences for their family.
Such a good point.
It highlights how even the most well-intentioned decisions can have unforeseen and far-reaching impacts.
It's true. And as we delve deeper into Madalena's story, We see those complexities play out in her personal struggles as well, because despite achieving so much, she's still battling the demons of her past.
Right. The text talks about her complicated relationship with food, like she's constantly trying to overcompensate for those years of scarcity.
It makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Her formative years were dominated by hunger, that constant fear of not having enough. So even with financial security, it's understandable that she'd struggle with this deep-seated insecurity around food.
The hoarding, both food and money, it starts to make a lot more sense in that context.
It's a survival mechanism, a way to protect herself from ever feeling that vulnerable again.
So it's not just about escaping poverty physically. It's about healing from the trauma of those early experiences, those psychological scars. They can run deep.
Absolutely. And this brings us to a point where Madelena's story becomes even more relatable, even for those of us who haven't experienced that level of deprivation, because it raises the question, what seemingly irrational behaviors, anxieties might we be carrying from our past experiences?
That's a powerful question.
It is.
How do those experiences continue to shape us, even when we think we've moved on?
It's something to ponder.
It really is. And that leads us to the next chapter of Madelena's journey, which is all about healing and finding purpose. It takes a lot of courage, to face those really deep-seated issues.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's exactly what Madelena does.
She does. She seeks help.
Therapy.
Embraces therapy, yeah.
Support groups.
Join support groups. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? That asking for help, it's not a sign of weakness. It actually takes incredible courage.
Right.
And self-awareness.
You're so right. And through that whole process of, seeking support, working through her past, she gradually finds a sense of peace. Like her relationship with food and finances starts to shift.
She's not erasing the past, but she's learning to live with it, in a way that doesn't control her present. It's a beautiful example of how healing is possible.
It really is, even from deep-seated trauma.
Even from deep-seated trauma, yeah.
But what's even more inspiring is that she doesn't stop there.
No, she doesn't.
She takes her own healing and uses it to lift others up.
It's like confronting her own demons unlocked this incredible empathy.
Right.
This desire to help other people break free from their own cycles of suffering.
She becomes this dedicated volunteer, working with people who are facing those same hardships.
Yeah.
So it's not just about personal triumph. It's about using that experience to make a real difference in the world.
It speaks to the power of shared experience, that deep understanding and connection that can only come from having walked a similar path.
Exactly. And then, at 60 years old, she makes a pretty remarkable career change.
Oh, that's right.
Teacher.
She becomes a teacher.
Specifically working with children who are, struggling.
It's amazing, isn't it? Denied an education as a child, and now she's the educator. There's a beautiful kind of irony in that.
It really is. It's like she's reclaiming that lost part of herself. But it's also so much more than just, personal fulfillment.
Of course. Think about the unique understanding she brings to that role. The empathy she has for those students. The ability to connect with them on a level that, someone else might not be able to.
Yeah. It's like her greatest wounds have become her greatest strengths. The very things that she's had to overcome now equip her to guide and support these kids in a way that's just so impactful.
It's powerful. And that's where the biographical text leaves us. With Madelena embarking on this new chapter, using her hard-won wisdom to make a difference in the lives of these children.
It's a beautiful image. So, after this incredible journey, what can we take away from Madelena's story? What really stays with us?
For me, it's this powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah?
Even facing unimaginable hardship, we have this capacity to not only survive, but to thrive. And not just to thrive for ourselves, but to use those experiences to create a ripple effect of positive change out in the world.
I love that. It's this reminder that while our past experiences, they may shape us, they don't have to define us.
Right.
We always have the power to choose how we respond to adversity and how we use our experiences to make the world, a more compassionate place, a more just place.
And Madelena's story is like this antidote to cynicism and despair.
It is.
It's this reminder that even small acts of kindness and courage can have a profound impact, and that even amidst darkness, there's always hope.
Beautifully said. It's a story that stays with you long after you've heard it. It leaves you feeling, a little more hopeful about the world, about the potential for good that exists in each of us.
And that brings us to a final thought I want to leave with our listener today.
Okay.
Madelena's story is unique, but it speaks to something universal, that human capacity for both enduring hardship and creating a better future. What small act of kindness, what change can you make today? Inspired by her example.
It's not about grand gestures.
No, no, it's about those small ripples that can spread outward, creating a wave of positive change.
Maybe it's reaching out to someone who's struggling,
Yes.
volunteering your time.
Or simply choosing to approach each day, each interaction, with a little more empathy and understanding.
Madelena's story reminds us that we each have that power.
We do.
Each of us can be a force for good, no matter our circumstances.
And that's a message worth holding on to.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Madelena's incredible life, let's carry that inspiration with us. Let's be the ripple.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What is?
Just, when you hear a story like this, like Madelena's, it really makes you want to stop and think about your own life.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a powerful invitation for all of us to reflect, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we all face challenges, some big, some small. But hearing what Madelena went through and how she overcame it all, and then, she found a way to turn it all into something so positive.
Right?
It's incredibly motivating.
It really is. It's a good reminder that even in those, really dark times, there's always this little flicker of light within us, this capacity for resilience, for hope. It can surprise us sometimes.
I think you're right. And the fact that she dedicated her life to helping children, especially those who are struggling, it really emphasizes how transformative her whole journey was. It does. It says a lot about her character, turning her pain into purpose, using her own experiences to help those young minds facing their own challenges.
It makes you think about the impact we all have.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll never really know the full impact, but Madelena's story, it's a powerful reminder that even those small acts of kindness, the choices we make every day, they can have these really profound and lasting effects.
It's a call to action, isn't it? It's not just about being inspired by her story, but about asking ourselves, what can I do in my own way to contribute to that ripple effect of positive change?
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this big grand gesture. It could be something as simple as offering a listening ear to a friend, or volunteering some time at a local charity.
Absolutely.
Or even just choosing to, approach our interactions with a little more empathy, a little more understanding.
Even those seemingly small acts can create ripples that extend so much further than we can even imagine. Like, throwing a pebble into a pond. The impact, it's felt long after that initial splash.
It really is. Madelena's story is a testament to the fact that we all have that power. Every single one of us can be a force for good in the world, no matter what our circumstances are.
That's a powerful thought to hold on to. A reminder that even amidst all the complexities and the challenges of life, there's always hope. There's always potential for positive change. And always the opportunity to make a difference, however big or small.
So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into Madelena's life, let's carry that inspiration with us. Let's be the ripple. Thanks for joining us.